Those who can't do.
So those of you with trained ears might have noticed that the last episode sounded a little strange. That first bit at the beginning was recorded on this little guy right here, the Zoom H1. Great little device. I've had it for years despite, moving on to better equipment since I first got it. Of course, the one thing that I neglected is that it's at a fixed stereo pickup pattern, meaning the slightest offset between me and the mic pickup can result with me sounding like I'm going on a little excavation through your head. Although, I don't know. It is 2018, some of y'all might be openly okay with something like that. The idea of a spindly little Asian soy boy going on an adventure near your brain. By the way, I don't eat soy that much, at least I don't think so. I mean, soy in its rawest form tastes weird and feels spongy. So all this elaborateness to say, I'm gonna take a more mono approach to doing these tutorials from here on out. Either going with the Rode VideoMic Pro that I have on top of Shannon here, or using something like the H4, which I used on the actual drawing portion of the previous episode. You can shoot either mono or stereo. It's got pretty much the same mic pattern as the H1. It just gives you more options, more control over your sound. But y'all ain't here for that. Y'all ain't here for audio-related shenanigans. You're here for drawing shenanigans. So without further ado, let's get back to our usual fare of digital doodling. Digital doodling. Fuck it, come on.
You too can draw.
Alright, so spoiler alert, I'm gonna be drawing another smiley, just because I don't want to get too advanced past, the first episode. Another doofy, Tom Folpe-inspired indie type of smiley, but plot twist, this time around I'm gonna be doing it using the nifty feature that we did not touch on last time, that being the layer feature. These squares here are layers here, conveyors here, purveyors here. This bear's spear. I'm back, I'm fine. We're good. We're good. I'm in control here. So at the bottom we got our default background element, this white canvas, and on top we have our first drawable layer, which we used last time. By the way, I'm really glad that's a real word. It doesn't get the red line. Drawable. 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 Good luck saying it though. Drawable. It just sounds like drawable. Anyway, so in order to add a new one, we just hit this plus sign right here. You want draw layer. If you want, you can add an image layer, which you could use for, tracing purposes and other such functions. We're not going to overcomplicate things in today's lesson. If you can call these that, I do. And it is worth noting that unless you have your layer that you want to mess with selected, you can't mess it up. Can overwrite it with a pink. Can't erase it, it all goes layer by layer, which is helpful. What's also worth noting is that you can, for lack of a better word, mute a layer that you don't want to work with for the time being. So if I wanted to work on this purple section, not so much the black section, you just double tap this black square, and it's gone. Likewise for the other one. Likewise for the background, actually, if you just want to work with these alpha squares. For the uninitiated, an alpha square just means transparent. So if you wanted to export this final project, it would only be whatever elements that you drew, with absolutely no white or any other pieces behind it. You could just slap it onto stuff without having to worry about keying out your white background. And that too is also helpful. It's not the most appealing thing to draw on top of though, so I'm gonna bring that back. There's many a function you can use the layering tool for. You can add as many of these as you want. At least I think so. I've had absolutely no reason to do any more than like 3, maybe 4, although I seem to have crowded my space. Let's get rid of the ones we don't want anymore. Just select the square if you want to get rid of. You tap it again. Your usual list of options comes up, including delete. In fact, I'm gonna start from scratch. There's not a whole lot else you can add to purple blob and black line. So we'll start fresh with a new layer and one on top of that. So another key feature that I can think of that you would want to use this for is, well, a more traditional means of drawing shapes. What do I mean by that? Well, I'll pick the bottommost drawable layer. God, it's still trippy to say. Zoom in a bit, and since we have a thinner brush here, I'm just gonna, apparently not too thin. I'll make this as thin as I can get it. Let's do like 0.5. What I'm gonna be doing here is pencil work. Yeah, look at that. Look how sketchy and spindly that is. I dare call that aesthetic. Yeah, that's like a pretty formed circle as opposed to, you know, my usual do, where I just... Lesson learned. I might use this brush instead of the other one for drawing perfect circles. Not perfect, but, you know, at least the loop is much more closed than the luck I have been using. I'm glad this is the kind of thing where all of us can learn a little something. It's the magic of ProNov. The ProNov effect. But anyway, yeah, you get what I'm saying. And you know, the fun doesn't stop at circles. Maybe you wanna do like a square or a triangle. And then, you know, once you have your basic shape outlined, you know, you can, well, up till this point, what I would do is I'd pick the rounder brush and then move up to the other layer and then trace on top of that. But, you know, again, I might have learned my lesson here. Might want to use a different brush for circles in general. That's kind of a magic brush I unwittingly discovered for myself. Although, you know, that's not bad either. Make a pass or two with that brush and, you know, you get what I'm saying. What I'm getting at here is 2 different layers, 2 different brushes, and that's the separating factor between pencil and inks for the traditional parable, I guess. Any traditional illustration, or comic books especially, you look at old comics and it's like pencils, Stan Lee, inks, Peter Griffin. You dedicate these parts of the process to their own little credit. I, for one, am more accustomed to just like the one and done, as you saw with my smiley in the last episode. Although, you know, admittedly, if I practiced more with this other technique, I'd probably come up with more photorealistic images. But this isn't about me, this is about y'all, you know? Or is it? I don't know. So that's one way you can use the layering feature. Another way you can use it is to build individual elements that you can stack on top of each other to make a full composition. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, rather than subjecting y'all to, you know, the process of me making an entirely different smiley, which I would never do the first time around, it is asinine, the prospect of me trying to do that at all. I'm way smarter than that. I have way better insight and an understanding of my own abilities to know if that would be stupid enough to do, which it is. I'm glad I didn't do that. Admittedly, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I have all this shit written. This ain't like, I'm not that spontaneous. Isn't it great? Isn't the creative process just excellent, and that you can pivot awful dumpster fires into a beautiful forest fire that if you look at it from space, it looks like a smiley? Please stay subbed. Please stay subbed. I'm just showing you the way I do it, you know? Because ultimately, at some point, you're going to find a look that you find really cool, and you're going to have a very specific way of doing it. When you're doing art, sometimes it's all you can go off of. Your own intuition, your own instincts. If someone tells you you're doing it wrong, well, if they're a professional artist, they're probably right, but fuck it, you know? This looks awful. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I might stop. I'm gonna go eat some dinner, and then I'm gonna come back, and hopefully I'll be able to make a better face for you. Oh shit. I need my phone in order to go. Anyway, back to the lesson. What I did is I went Martha Stewart, or Rachel Ray, or Bobby Flay, or Marvin Gaye. I cook-showed my project. You know, we had that other stuff, we were putting it in the oven. Now I'm taking it out of the oven because I prepared it ahead of time. Because I have foresight. Let's check that cake out. Or baklava. Yeah, that is no cake. That's definitely a baklava. So let's take a closer look of what I got here. We have our canvas. we have our head, we have our eyes, we have our mouth, as well as pupils, and for no other reason than me wanting him to have one, I gave him a hat. It's not the best looking hat, admittedly, because if you take a closer look, the fill work near these lines, yeah, they're not really that filled in. It's some kind of Adobe Draw feature that I don't know the best workaround for. I don't know why it happens with some fills and not others, but you know, you work with what you can. It's not like he's the kind of chap who would care if his hat wasn't filled in all the way. I mean, he looks pretty content with that. So what's extra cool about the layers, I mean, this is something that I touched on a little bit in the last episode, is the ability to transform individual pieces of your composition. Put it this way. Rather than using the transform tool and elongating the entire face, I can just do whatever I've got selected. In this case, the eyes. Not so much the pupils, because for whatever reason I attached that to the mouth. Not too sure why I did that. He looks cross-eyed as fuck now. There we go. Now it's a little more equal. It's worth noting that just little changes like that can totally augment the personality of your Dudo that you're drawing. Now, it is really odd that I decided to put it on the mouth layer. Yeah, it's kind of proving my point. Hello. I want his eyes back, but you know, that is a valid way to draw a face. I wouldn't poo-poo anyone for doing that, you know? Okay, so again, out of the oven, baklava boy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 elements compiled together. You know what, his circle's a little boring. I'm gonna throw in a little bonus trick before I do my final step here. Let's isolate our head. I'm gonna add a bit of shading, and to do that, I'm gonna open up our black brush, get it nice and big, bring down the opacity to, let's try 20. And then we're just gonna take swipes at this thing until we have a well-rounded shadow. Wow, that's like the first time I've tried something like that, and it's not perfect. Got a little corner right there. Try it again. Zoom out. No, I don't want to stop recording. What are you, high? Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so, similarly to when you're doing the fill of color in an object, you can take the erase tool and hold on to the sections that are leaving the outline. Voila. We'll bring our layers back. There. Now, let's get to that final step. If you select a layer and go into the options, the second to last pick down at the bottom of the screen is merge down. What does that do? It's exactly what it sounds like. It combines the layer you have selected and whatever's beneath it into one single piece. So we're just going to continue that, work our way down the line. See, now it's just the entire face until we have one single object, which we can then center up with our canvas. And then if there's any last minute changes you want to make, like vertical wise or underwise, you can do that here. I like him squished. I like him a little squished. Done. Done. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Luckily, we get to end the same way we ended last time, with another happy little dude. Just another little guy. Generic ass male toon face. Nothing very androgynous about this bloke, is there? No. No. You know what? For too long, I have relied on the male form to convey my reflection of the things around me as I see them. But at the end of the day, the world is more layered than that. More complex. More diverse. I'm doing myself and my species a disservice by relying on one simple formula every time I draw something, you know? Well, no more. Sorry, Mr. Man. I'm gonna retool you into a Mrs. Man, or Mrs. Mr. Woman, Mrs. Ma'am. I don't fucking know, the name's not important. What is important is overcoming my own hurdles, my own internalized way of looking at things. It's time I cast aside these stupid crutches and make something as beautiful and progressive as my own sociological sensibilities. could just stick to what I know. Okay. Let us never speak of this again.